Hi, you're watching Current Issues. My name is Vineet Malhotra. There is surplus power in our country, and the Power Minister cannot stop raving about the feat that has been accomplished in the last 2 years. Piyush Goyal says that India can meet its power requirements for the next 10 years without adding extra capacity. Well, if this is true, then why are about 300 million people in India who do not have access to a power socket? If that is the case, then why are there rampant and indiscriminate power cuts in our country? The answer may be not easy, but we will still try with our guest on the show tonight to unravel this particular mystery. And we start by welcoming our guest, Mr. A.K. Datta, who's an expert on electricity-related issues and power distribution. Sir, thank you for joining us. I have Bijon Mishra with me in the studio, who's a consumer rights activist. He's also in the studio with us. So thank you so much for joining us. And we have Sharath Kohli, who's a business analyst. Sharath, thank you so much for being in the studios with us. Bijon, I'm going to start with you. If there is a power surplus, then why do we have power cuts?
Because the system in our country is that all the actors who are involved in the power production, transmission and distribution are not accountable at all to the consumers. You see, in our country, unfortunately, what happens is that we have good policies, we have great laws, tall claims being made, like our power minister is making. But then at the end of the day, I mean, as you very rightly said, there is no electricity at the user point. Now, the major reason is electricity is again a state subject. It's not a federal subject. Wherever it is a state subject, I have seen, the states which are very proactive, which are good, efficient, they are able to do it. But states, which are not, which do not bother, there is no political will, there is no leadership. There is a complete lack of transparency and complete lack of accountability. You see, the whole spirit of the Electricity Act, which came into existence from 2003, it was built on building transparency and accountability in the whole system. It was built on how you can bring energy sector closest to the citizens and dismantle all these huge monopolies of the state government in the sector, or huge monopolies like NTPC and others which are run by the central government. Dismantle them and bring private sector, bring competition, bring transparency in terms of tariff fixation, bring transparency in terms of quality of service, and make people accountable.
Right, make people accountable. And Mr. Datta, 2012-13, the deficit was 8.7%. 2015 and 16, the government is boasting of a deficit which has been reduced to 2.1%. But third of the rural households do not have a power socket to charge their cell phones into. What are we raving about here?
No. See, the problem is it is a matter of distribution. All the villages have not, the power has not reached, or all the people hasn't got connection. That must be one reason. In the state, the state electricity boards have been developed into
But that is the entire question, Mr. Datta. If the grid is not serving the entire population, then how can you define a surplus or a deficit?
No. Surplus, for the present there is surplus, but once it is distributed to all the people, then only it will be decided. For the present, those who are have been given connection, there is a surplus power, and there is surplus power all the time during the week period. So during that time, the surplus power has to be given to the exchange for a lower rate.
Right.
So that portion remains. If you want 100% supply, 24-hour supply, then there will be surplus power. Because the moment we switch off, who will take that power?
You see, it's like it's like you go to a shop, you find a whole lot of goods in that shop, but there is no consumer to buy it. You see, it's such a dichotomy, right?
Right.
In one place, people are starving of energy, industry is not growing, we are not having energy 24/7, and here the generator is saying, oh, I have got surplus power, so why are you not being made accountable to sell it in a proper way, to see that the state governments buy it from you, in a manner which is desired? And you see, all the state governments have gone bankrupt. Let me tell you that. All the DISCOMs are into bankruptcy. They
Why
are
is the
on-
bankruptcy?
They are on a hand-to-mouth basis.
Okay, so
you
Mr.
see,
Datta,
they are
you
in
feel-
such a bad shape that they can't buy power till they don't recover the money from the consumers, and they have no mechanism to understand. And the state governments are now struggling to get grants and doles from the central government. They are trying to bargain. They are trying to blackmail the central government that if you have got surplus power and all, then give us these kind of subsidies, for the discoms, because there is 60% theft going on which we can't control. These kind of arguments are given, whereas the law is very clear. Why should a paying consumer be made liable? Why shouldn't a non-paying consumer not being made liable?
Right.
So there is a huge amount of dichotomy. The state regulators
Liability,
are extremely inefficient.
Liability as well as Sharad. Let me also get your viewpoint in this particular area. The calculation system has to be massively skewed, because the deficit is only capturing the unmet demand of the people who are already on the grid.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm glad you raised this point, Vineet, because that was my contention. Let's look at some of the numbers which go in support of what you're saying. Now, the numbers say like this: that India's average per capita consumption of power is about 1,000 kilowatt hour.
Right.
We look at China; it's about 4,000 kilowatt hour. We look at the world average, which is about 3,000 kilowatt hour. Let's look at the developed countries like America, countries like Germany. There it is 15,000 kilowatt hour. So what? And let's look at Bihar. Let's go to Bihar, where the per capita consumption is a 144 kilowatt hour. So what is the surplus we are talking about? We are simply not registering the 30 crore people who are without power. The number of people who are without power in our country at this moment, Vineet, is equivalent to the American population. The whole population of America, we combine together. That is the number who are the people who are without power in our country. So what is the surplus we're looking at? Are we not registering these people? Or are we not trying to assess the demands of the people who already have the electricity, as you said? So there's a big
So
gap out there.
Sharad, just tell me one thing: is it scrupulous of the government to quote this particular feat as a surplus?
I think the concept here is talk good.
Aren't
and
we
feel good.
misleading?
There is surplus. Let us understand it. There is surplus power because the power which is being generated is not being consumed, and there is a peak hour and non-peak hour.
Who pays for that?
Non-peak hour.
No, who pays for that?
No, that
Who
goes.
pays for that?
No, that.
No.
Sir,
Please
how-
understand.
Sir,
No,
who pays
listen
for
to
that?
me. If you
You
listen
are-
to,
you are
Right, who pays
please,
for
please
that?
understand. Then only it goes to the exchange, and then it is bought by people those who need that.
But
they
the
get it at a cheaper rate.
Sir, if
mind
there
you.
is surplus power, why doesn't it go to the people who got no access at
They
all?
have
see,
to
why
be
is the
accessed.
tariff not
Why
coming
doesn't
down?
it go to the
Have
farmers?
Why is the
for
tariff
that.
not coming
They have
down?
to be accessed. That the state
No, why
government
is the
has to
tariff
do.
not coming down?
That-
Let's
that-
understand that.
Sorry?
Why is the tariff not coming down?
Tariff is being decided based on the price.
What price? So they are getting power at such a cheaper price, and they are getting
That
surplus
is the
power.
surplus.
And now
No,
you are
no,
trying
no,
to
that
tell
is the
me. So
dichotomy
it is
of a
profiteering.
regulated power
It is
system. No, no,
cheating
they-
the consumers.
This
It is
is the different
profiteering.
thing.
You are selling at a lower
when
price.
When you switch off your connection, do you consider that who will take that power? You had been consuming.
No. You are,
So
yes,
that
you
that
need
will
to.
be surplus
You
power.
see,
And that surplus power will be sold at a
Okay,
cheaper
Mr.
rate.
Mr. Datta,
any business
let me
entity.
end this deadlock. Mr. Datta, please tell me, how do you feel about these figures and the government announcing that there's been a surplus? 87% of rural households in Bihar don't have
Don't
electricity.
have power.
70% in UP
it is a matter
don't
of
have
the whole
electricity.
country. In
63%
70
in
years
Jharkhand
of our independence,
have
the
no
power has not gone to the
electricity
people.
Mr.
connection.
Datta, my question is, why is surplus power first not sent to people who do not have access to
It
power
needs
at
lines,
all?
sir. Electricity goes through a line. It is not a transmission system. It is a line. Unless the man has got the power line, how will he get
No.
it?
Let's take Lucknow. Let's take Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. Why are we not getting 24/7 in Lucknow?
Because their state
let's
corporation cannot
understand
buy
that.
power. They are unable to recover money.
So whose fault is that? Should the
that is the
consumer
system.
suffer?
That is the government.
Should the consumer suffer
That
for
is
that?
it is the federal system.
Should
The local
the
government
consumer
should do
suffer
that.
for that?
I have a question for Mr. Datta, Vineet, if you allow me.
Sure.
He's saying that there has to be lines there for the power to go.
Without power, how will you go?
I have some interesting data here. Now, when you said 87% of the Bihar rural areas do not have power, let us not forget 33% of the urban area also in Bihar doesn't have
Exactly,
power. So,
exactly.
shall we assume, Mr. Datta, that even
That they
the
don't have
urban
lines?
areas do not have power lines?
Of course, there are so
why
many
do you call them
slums
urban
every day.
areas?
No, that it is a matter of the resources of the government.
And in lieu of that, is
There
it,
are
is it all
huge
right
numbers
to
of
declare a
slums.
surplus?
Power has to go to them. How will
It's
it
a
go?
completely
That the
kaput
government has to do
infrastructure.
that. There
It's
is
an
very-
infrastructure which has gone completely collapsed.
I think infrastructure has to be developed, yes.
You know something? I'm telling you first-hand experience. As a consumer, if I need electricity, I have to install my own transformer.
No.
I have to buy my own transformer. Hey, come on now, I'm telling you the facts.
That is
you
not for the
investigate
common
into
consumer,
that.
that is for
You
the-
investigate into that. You find out on
Large
that. Now
industrial
my
consumers have to
contention
do
is,
that.
what, the regulator is sleeping? The regulator doesn't know that? You want to tell me that if a decoy person from the regulator goes
But-
to find out, he will not get the facts and figures?
So
and he can't take action?
Bijan and Sharad
There
and
are
Mr. Datta,
regulations.
the crux of the matter is, and Sharad, you would agree that, this particular report which has been floated by the power minister, it completely ignores the regional disparities that exist in our country, and it has just been painted with a broad brush which is probably of no use, probably to a farmer who is allowed to have free electricity but doesn't get it more than 2 hours a day.
I will add something to Vineet what you said. I think this report is just talk good and feel good. When you're talking about nicer things, you're feeling good about it. But at the ground level, at the concrete level, there is nothing to say over there. You were talking of surplus power. We're talking of Odisha, Tripura, Mizoram, which are supposed to be having surplus power, but in these areas where Odisha comes to the top, sir, 22 to 52% of the areas are unelectrified as of
that is
today.
the problem.
And those are the states which are talking of surplus
Yes,
power.
yes, yes.
So is that a joke, calling it
Yes,
as a
that's a
surplus
joke.
power when people do not have access to power at all? How do you think these people would be using their
We have a
mobile
resource
phones?
constraint.
And you want to tell me that it will take-
You
it
have,
takes so
we have
many
a very
years to do
valid
that?
point that everybody
want to
should
tell
be
me
given
that it
power
takes so many
connection.
years to do that?
But that costs a lot of money, and
No, it doesn't cost a lot of money. It at least costs much less money than all the privileges which all these elected representatives are getting.
It is
So
very good
please,
to-
you know, let's
television
not
studio
let's
cannot
not
solve
talk
that
about
problem.
Let's not
That's
talk
the
about
problem of
no. So
allotting
the
resources.
root cause is where the conversation started. The root cause is that nobody takes accountability and responsibility in terms of reaching the last mile. The consumer is completely neglected by the states, and it's a state subject. The central government can go on tom-tomming about all the good they are doing, but at the end of the day, the state governments do not even bother what the central
Bijan,
government
why do you
is
think
talking.
certain states like
they
Tamil
are
Nadu,
popularly
Maharashtra,
elected government. What can you do?
Gujarat.
Gujarat,
how
you
are
look at
they
Gujarat.
benefiting and how are they generating a surplus
No,
while the others are
that's
suffering?
what I'm trying to say. That our honorable Prime Minister is coming from the same state. He knows how he did it. He knows how the states need to respond to the need. So the central government power minister has to first understand that how does he enable the state governments to appreciate that this is a very important sector where if they have been able to produce surplus, that they should be able to buy, they should be able to use it, they should be able to take it to the last mile. That nobody is talking about. You see, let me tell you, everything is a blame game going on. And there's no coordination.
Thermal power plants are producing at 65% of the capacity when they should produce at 85% of the capacity.
Right.
There is no buyer.
But Mr. Datta, the long-term goals which have been outlined by this government have been necessarily limited to making it a digital India. How can we even, dream of a digital India when the means to go digital do not exist in 1/3 of our country?
Well, it's a process. They should do it, yes.
I'll give you a small example. again.
You
I'll
see,
again give
federal
you a small
structure,
example.
the state
Haven't
governments
they
have
been
to be a
trying?
party
Haven't
to
they
it. They
been
must have
trying?
the
No, I'll give-
resources.
I'll
It is
again
no
give-
wishful thinking that I will get
I will
power
give you a small
immediately.
example.
You have to buy it, you have to spend money, you have to do the infrastructure. Well, this is a joint effort. Anyway, I don't support that they have not done it. That they have not done it, it's a failure. All right.
So then,
I totally agree.
somebody's head must get,
Please get somebody's head.
somebody must be hanged. Now, if you don't do that, then it will carry on. We keep debating like this.
Okay, Sharad raised his hand. Sharad.
Vineet, the other aspect I would like to, the lack of will where it is showing. They had set up a target in the 5-year plan of, we haven't been talking of renewable energy.
Exactly.
We're talking of wind power. Let's talk of solar power. Now, they had set up a target of 100,000 megawatts of solar power and 60,000 megawatts of wind power, which was supposed to be completed. Now, they found out that an investment of $200 billion is required for this. So, why not have a proper budget allocation, sir, where you say the lines don't reach? Why can't we have infrastructure which supports renewable energy? Why can't we have solar cells? Why can't we have wind power? This country is fully conducive to generating wind power. The kind of wind which blows, climatically speaking, is fantastic. If
Right.
wind power is used, you can do wonders with this country. So where is the action being taken on wind power energy?
but
Solar
let me
power,
take you
solar
back.
power is being developed. That is open to the private sector. Why are they can do it?
No, but
it
let
has
me,
been open.
But let me take you back. So many.
In fact, solar power
so
is very
many-
costly,
so-
and you get for a limited period, and you can't store it. If you store it, it will cost huge amount of money. Solar power is only a short term, only for a short period.
Sir, in this country, the question of storage would not come. There is so much of deficit, there is so much of shortage, there is paucity of power. You generate a power and it will be taken away. I can bet you.
You got me
No,
wrong.
but-
Solar power you get for 6 hours in a day. If you want to use it for the night time, then you have to store it.
No, I'm
that
sorry,
is
we have
enormously
cells which
costly.
store.
And in the daytime, in India, there is surplus power. There is no shortage of power in the daytime.
You mean there is a shortage when there is no sun out there?
Yes,
Is that
yes,
what you're
the
trying to
evening sun,
say?
yes, of course.
But I don't think our country, sir, is so primitive that it cannot save power overnight.
It because resources you must have resources. The government, if you have gone to the budget, you know what is the resources of the
Because
government.
even the
Government
inverters
doesn't
at
have.
home, they can save power for days together. So
How can
is
they,
it
how can
possible
they
that a
save
solar
power? You
cell
must have
cannot
the same
save
system.
power?
You must have the battery. You must have that cost enormously. It is not cheap.
So
It is
where
very
is the
costly.
budget allocation for that? $200 billion was
If you are,
decided.
if you have gone through the Indian budget, you should understand how they are arranging. Yes, they should arrange.
But Mr. Datta,
They should arrange, yes,
how
they
would
should
you
do it.
justify a power surplus where the kilowatt per hour per person in India is close to approximately, like Sharad had mentioned, close to 1,000, and the world average is 3,000.
Their consumption is
It's
more. They pay
1/3
more.
of the world
They pay more.
average.
That will cost more.
That
Yes,
brings
of
us-
course you consume. I consume lot of electricity. Why not others are consuming?
That
Yes.
brings us to a very important question, Vineet. The question is, if we are talking of 1,000, under 1,000 for that matter, kilowatt power per capita, and we are looking at the world average of 3,104 to be precise. So this means that average Indian citizen is not consuming enough amount of power for all the appliances, all his daily requirements. He is trying to be conservative. And he's trying to save power. Probably, I mean, I find that very common. If you've got 5 lights lighted in the room, you'll tell your family, go and switch these off. One light is enough. Why is the extra lighting there? Whereas you may actually need it. Somebody might be reading and you need extra lights. So we are actually not assessing the power requirement precisely. It is that which is leading to a surplus, which is showing up as a surplus, which is actually, we need not a surplus.
You see,
There is surplus, that
you
is
see
why
the
they are
point
unable to
is,
sell.
It's not that these data is not available with the people who are making policies and who are managing all the implementation plan. They all know
But
it.
don't say
they all
don't
know
think
it.
that I am supporting that. I
They
say
all
yes,
know
should
it.
be
No,
given.
but
there must be
Mr.
resources.
Datta, you must agree to one of the issues which we are all talking about on a common manner, that the planning has to be such that everybody gets energy 24/7 in a manner the individual wants. I am saying that as a consumer, supposing I am very conservative with my consumption, good. And there are consumers who say, no, I would like to live in a lavish manner and I can afford it. So why not? I need air conditioning in all my rooms. Very good. So here in our country, the policies don't come out in a robust manner. They change with the face of the government. They change with the face of the leader. The policies are not framed in a manner that it is long term. It encourages people, to grow, to develop. That is where the investments are not coming in. You have seen in the past, all those windmills, which took crores of rupees from the consumers, have just been vanished, fly by night. All the investors' money have gone down the drain. Where have those windmills gone? Where have those people gone who took the money from the investors and the consumers, to erect windmills all over the
That-
country,
that-
especially in southern India.
They run
Now
away
again
with
we
the
are
money,
opening up.
that is a
Exactly,
different
Mr.
No,
Datta,
again
where-
we are
where
opening
are
up.
those windmills?
Where are those windmills?
You
Who
know-
has gone behind the bars?
They are
I don't see anybody been
They're
penalized. I
transmission-
don't
has
see
got nothing to do
any
with
money
power
got getting
generation.
refunded to the consumers. You know, crores of rupees, you know, got defrauded, you know, in our country.
That's a
but
different
nothing
matter.
happens.
That is
So in our country, if you rob, you are the king. If you are a responsible consumer, you are the most sought after in terms of overburdening you with all kinds of taxes, with all kinds of tariffs, you know, where a responsible consumer is
Okay.
not being made happy.
Mr. Datta, you know, a fair and square question to you. Can this report, you know, be cited actually, you know, as an achievement for the government?
Which report?
The report that was published by the Power Minister that in another 10 years, our country will not need additional capacity to generate power.
No, we need power.
Do we need-
definitely. Of course. The power minister may say he has his reason, but I don't see any reason that we will have so much
What-
surplus
what is-
power.
what
that
He
we-
has his reasons, right?
What
What
is
are
his
those
reason?
reasons?
No, he may have his reasons. I
What
can't.
reasons
He
should we
overnight
as citizens
decided
know
that we have
about
got so much solar power, he will do. Let him do.
No, as citizens, we
What,
are.
Sun Edition has gone. Sun
No, as
Edition has
citizens,
declared
are we not
bankruptcy.
accessible to those reasons?
But as somebody who's, you know, who's observed
I don't
and
know. I don't
monitored,
know what
Mr.
is the
Datta,
reason.
as somebody
I
who
am
has
not,
observed
the Power Minister's
and
representative.
monitored this particular industry, do you think it is sapient, it is wise of a power minister to make such a statement when 1/3 of this country is living in darkness?
That may not be.
What is, okay, tell me what's your
power.
personal
That may
opinion
not be
then.
having the
Let-
lack of
don't give me your objective opinion, give me a subjective opinion.
No, what I particularly find that the country, the portion area of the country which is not getting power is for the simple reason. One reason, not for the one reason is that they may not be having the infrastructure. The other reason is the state governments are these corporations of the state governments are bankrupt because they are unable to recover the money because it's a federal structure. The politicians decide that so much power has to be given free. That is a big malady in the whole thing, and that has to be rectified.
Malady, when it comes to malady, Mr. Datta, Vineet, if you allow me, there are two maladies which we are
You
totally
talk of
forgetting.
Delhi and Bombay, what is happening?
Let's talk of malady since you raised the malady. One of the major maladies is, I'm taking a hypothetical case, a bill in Bihar comes, you know the power pilferage level in Bihar, it is as high as 50%. 50% of the power gets stolen. And do you think this can be done without involvement of the state electricity
I'll tell
board?
you.
There is so much of corruption, Mr. Datta. You get a bill of 50,000 rupees. You go to an inspector there, tell them I'm willing to offer you 10,000 rupees. He will say, okay, fine, I'll make your bill to 2,000. Give me 10,000, pay your bill 2,000. So this power pilferage, corruption will never allow the power.
Yes,
to be-
this
Absolutely.
is true
And-
for
and-
all
and
the
let me-
sector.
and let me highlight
This
a-
is true for
let
all the
me highlight
sector.
a stat
What
as well
was
for
the
you.
Delhi power theft before it was privatized?
Sir,
62%
in
power was
private-
being
even in
stolen.
private
Bijon,
companies, this
so-
is
so-
happening.
And Sharad, okay, here is an interesting stat for you. In 2001, 78
This is
million,
everywhere,
Mr.
in all
Datta,
sectors.
Mr.
That
Datta,
has to be
2001, 78 million rural and 7 million urban household lacked access to electricity. In 2011, that number is 75 million and 6 million. But what has changed in the last 10 years, in these last 10 years, that 95,000 megawatts of new capacity was added and the numbers kept on increasing.
So,
No,
what
but
does
number
it-
of
That's a
people
clear
has not
sign, that's a
increased.
clear
So
sign
where-
of power.
No, no,
what does
number
it
of
show?
connections
What
have
does it
increased.
show?
Are
the
we
number
supplying
of
power
people
to
have
Venus or
increased.
Mars? We are supplying power to Venus
No,
or
and
Mars.
why generate? Why generate when
You
there
are
is no
unable to
demand?
consume.
I mean, I'm not able to understand that. See, what needs to be understood here is that electricity generated, and it is so highly perishable, needs to be consumed as early as possible and quickly
No,
as
it is
possible.
to be consumed
because
at once.
it cannot be stored, and storage is definitely very expensive. So
No,
you need to do it.
No,
You
that
see?
storage
so
is not
what
possible.
what we need to understand is that we have to ensure that first we have connectivity with every citizen in terms of energy. If the connectivity is not there, just one bulb burning in a village doesn't mean the village is electrified.
Right.
You see, it's a very funny kind of a definition in our country. A village is declared as electrified if one bulb burns in that village. Now, isn't this ridiculous?
That's a travesty.
I mean, all the villagers of that village don't need to have a connection. If one bulb burns, the village is electrified as per the books of the government. Now, this is what all the culture we have inherited now, you know. So now if
That has
we
to
are,
be
if the
improved,
if the new government, I mean it's no longer new, it's already 2 years old. If really the power minister is serious and wants to say something to the country in terms of the surplus electricity, he has to raise his voice
Right.
to
And Mr.
identify
Datta, you know,
how it can happen.
do you think there are transmission bottlenecks which actually are not allowing, you know, this capacity
that,
to
yes,
reach,
to some
you know,
extent that is
millions
being
and
solved.
crores of people who
course, no,
actually,
no. So there
actually
is some
crave
problem
for
between
electricity
South and North, there is a
in a
problem.
potential digital India?
No, there is some transmission problem. Particularly South and North, East and West, there was some problem. That is being addressed and it is being very seriously looked into, as far as I know. But how it is being implemented, I don't know.
No, it is. See, even there are huge issues in
But
terms
how
of
serious
transmission.
one must be, Mr. Datta, to ignore, you know, 30
You
crore
see,
people
power
without
sector has been
electricity?
open
Okay,
to
we're
the
running out of
private,
time. Sharad, any closing thoughts from you on this?
Well, my closing thought is that the report which we are discussing today of the power minister, I would advise the government that when you want the feel-good factor, when you want the good times to come, you must be backing it by real concrete ground level realities rather than just talking good and feeling good. Simply talking good will expose the government and it will tell the truth to rest of the world. You cannot hide it for long. That's my closing comment.
Absolutely, and if you want to be technologically advanced and you want a digital India, there's one thing that you will definitely require, which is probably a socket which charges all those dreams and aspirations. Bijon, Mr. Datta and Sharad, thank you so much for joining us.
Should come on board. They cannot
Okay,
remain
we'll take
aloof
that up
and
next time, Mr.
depend
Datta.
upon
That's
the-
all we have on the show. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.